Hey YouTube, it is Mark, and I am coming to you from the beautiful Carnival Jubilee. It is her inaugural sailing, and I wanted to share with you my first 24 hours, my experience, and my impressions of this ship. And so, there's going to be lots of photos, lots of videos. Stick around. You might recognize where I am on board this beautiful ship. I am on deck 7, overlooking that beautiful center stage area. And so it has been an amazing inaugural sailing. I'm going to start off talking about embarkation. Embarkation, I had the earliest embark time I've ever had in all of my cruises. I guess that's what happens when you don't have to disembark previous cruisers. You can just welcome us right away. So we got to the terminal actually early. Our check-in time was 9:30. We got there about a quarter after 9 because I was like, okay, let's get there a little bit early. The rest of the ship had that same idea. The number of diamonds and platinums, that priority line literally wrapped down the entire terminal building. It was wild. Of course, I expected a lot of priority guests based on an inaugural sailing and a Christmas cruise, and so no surprises there. The line, once it actually started moving, moved fairly quickly. We didn't wait in that line very long to get into that building. In fact, it was maybe 15 minutes to get into the building, but then we got into another queue, and that was to have our passports checked, and so that was another 10 minutes or so. From there, we headed to security, walked through the x-ray machine. The one thing that is unique and interesting is they had a guard stationed opening up all 12 packs of soda to inspect inside to make sure you didn't sneak something in. There are also sniffing dogs, canines, all around the terminal, and so keep that in mind as you are boarding the ship. It is definitely a new terminal. It's not a new terminal, but $50 million plus of investment. It feels like a new terminal. It still has that new paint smell. Walked through kind of the general boarding area and grabbed some video to show you what that Terminal 25 looks like in Galveston. Additionally, we made it on over to the captain's lounge. So the first thing that they asked is what our status was. We said diamond. So we got the priority B boarding card that they gave out, similar to Carnival Celebration in Miami. And so we went and we waited in that lounge. Now, we did talk to a crew member that said they learned a lot from Miami and really expanded the space. I don't know if that's actually what happened, but I will tell you it is a huge space. With the number of platinums, diamonds, and suite guests on board this week, there was plenty of room for folks. They weren't turning folks away at the door like they were in Miami, and so that was lovely. We waited in there probably about half an hour before all of the royalty and dignitaries came out. There were press there in the terminal doing interviews and photos, but about 30 minutes after waiting, Christine Duffy, president of Carnival Cruise Line, of course Kendall Fire, our cruise director this week, they came out. They shared their excitement about the Carnival Jubilee, the investment in Galveston. I'll do a full separate video. I'll share that content in a separate video, but it was a really cool experience. It was my second time getting to welcome a new ship to the fleet, Carnival Venezia earlier this year, and now Carnival Jubilee. Such a cool experience. There were dignitaries from Texas on hand and Galveston on hand to exchange gifts and plaques and all of those sorts of things in true tradition. This was Carnival Jubilee's first call on Galveston. So that whole thing, probably about 20-25 minutes, there were some folks that were complaining. They were like, we just want to get on the ship. I was eating it up. They welcomed up the youngest diamond, 8 years old, to help cut the ribbon. So they cut the ribbon, and the first guests were on board Carnival Jubilee. So we got called by our priority zones and made our way to show our boarding pass one last time and get on this amazing ship. We are through. We've scanned our boarding passes, and we are headed on board Carnival Jubilee. Thank you. walking onto the ship was amazing. It reminded me of Carnival Venezia. The crew was excited. They were happy. They were welcoming us with open arms. Some of them came up and gave big hugs. They all had their signs. It was so much fun. I recognized several folks. Joey, hey, thank you for the big hug right away as I walked on board Carnival Jubilee. Felt welcomed. Cool thing, rooms were all immediately ready. Again, another perk of the first time sailing on a new ship. They made an announcement saying your staterooms are already ready if you want to go up there. Normally, that's where we would go to drop stuff off. Not this cruise. I immediately beelined on over to the current zone because I wanted to see the Golden Mermaid and take lots of pictures and videos right away, as well as Ink's PhD, Dr. Inks. I made it over there, and you know, they say timing is everything. It turns out Christine Duffy was doing press interviews at Dr. Inks. And so in front of the giant Christmas tree, she was doing several interviews. So I got to, enjoy and watch that. And when she was done with that, she came over. We chatted a little bit. We took a selfie. I gave her a hug. We took a selfie. It was such a cool experience to get to welcome and congratulate Christine on the ship. She didn't sail with us this week because of the Christmas sailing, but it was super cool to actually get a chance to see her again and chat with her and congratulate her on the new ship. Okay, from here, we went to drop off our bags. So got a lot of photos, a lot of video, and decided to go drop off our bags. But along the way, of course, we ran into more familiar and friendly faces. Gabby from the Fun Squad, Kendall, our cruise director, of course, was there. We got some more selfies. And then, yes, eventually made it to the room to drop off our carry-on bags, which was a lovely relief after holding them for as long as we were. And the surprises just kept coming. When we got to the stateroom, they had Carnival Jubilee Inaugural books as gifts for everyone, as well as Carnival Jubilee Inaugural Season cowboy hats. So you're going to see a couple of those coming up in videos as we record the full review. Don't you worry. From the stateroom, I was like, I need to get some food. But I'm not just getting any food. I'm getting food that is unique to this ship. And so we headed to Coastal Slice in the Shores zone. And I tried the 2 new pizza varieties. I actually filmed a full review of it. So the barbecue pizza, the Tex-Mex pizza, go watch that. It'll make you hungry, I promise. But I wanted to check out the new options immediately. And I was super excited. And I wasn't disappointed. On our way to the muster stations, we took some more pictures with familiar faces on board, which was awesome. Crew members on board. Muster process was super easy. I love the Carnival muster process. You put the life jacket over your head, you wrap the strap around, click it. You got a whistle, you got a light. It's perfect. We were in and out, and we knew where to go in case of an emergency and how to put on our life jackets. The next couple of hours, honestly, were a bit of a blur. We just explored the ship. We went up to Serenity. We went up to Loft 19, took a lot of pictures, filmed a lot, got more food, went to Street Eats, and enjoyed Street Eats, which we absolutely love. What I will tell you that I loved on day one in the first 24 hours of the ship is even though there's so much newness with the currents and the shores, there's so much familiarity with this class of ship. So if you've been on Mardi Gras or if you've been on Carnival Celebration, I remember the first time we were on Mardi Gras, we're like, we just need a week to explore this ship. Not the case here. We knew where the zones were. Even Paul, who's only been on Mardi Gras once, he said right away, I feel like I can navigate around the ship without an issue. It was awesome. I love that feature about the ship because it made it getting around to get lots of pictures and photos before we jumped onto our live session. So we did a YouTube live stream from the ship where we walked our followers, we walked them around the ship and we showed off the Carnival Jubilee for the first time live. And so that was a ton of fun. There was so much engagement. Thank you to everyone who joined for that. Thank you for everyone who waved as I was going by in that video. Honestly, it meant a lot and was super excited to show off the ship. From the live, we went on over to the sail away party, and sail away parties for an inaugural cruise are pretty epic. I can tell you that. It was packed. And a nice touch from the Port of Galveston. We had a tug with water cannons shooting out water as we left the port for the first time with passengers. Carnival Jubilee's inaugural sailing. Really nice touch. Loved that in Galveston. Not long after sail away, folks were already lined up at the fun shops to get their inaugural season jackets, probably an hour and a half before the shops even opened. I decided not to stand in that line. I figured, okay, there's probably enough on here. I'll get one tomorrow. And I did. So you'll be seeing that on a future video as well. A beautiful inaugural season jacket. There is a rumor that they sold out. There were none left on the racks in the fun shops. I'm sure they will replenish though. Don't you worry, because those went like hotcakes for $79.95. They went like hotcakes, and there's a ton of inaugural merch in that gift shop. I may have picked up some surprises that folks will be unwrapping next Christmas. I filmed some more spaces on the ship. The LED panels in the currents zone, really cool. The LED windows, you can actually control what shows up in those windows. That's a cool touch. We headed down to the spa. One of the requests came in from our live to show off what the spa looked like. And so Paul and I walked down there, and we actually just kind of hung out in the spa. It was open. They were doing tours, so we relaxed on a stone chair for a bit of time. He went back up to the room, and then I took a sauna, showered, got ready for dinner. We checked in, and the one thing that I did notice that first night is the check-in times did not seem accurate at all in the app. We waited much longer after we checked in until our table was ready. Not a big deal. We hadn't gotten hungry yet. And so we made our way over to Chibang. Of course, Chibang is my favorite place, favorite restaurant on board a Carnival cruise ship. We've done a ton of reviews. We probably even have a Chibang playlist by this point. It's just our favorite. So we make our way over there, and this made my day. As we walked up to the hostess stand, Alina immediately recognized me. Her eyes got big, her jaw dropped. She runs up from behind the counter and gives me the biggest hug. It was the sweetest thing. We sailed with Alina on the Carnival Celebration, and she just was a highlight of our trip. I took a selfie right away and sent it to Rocky, Brian, and Christopher, our friends that we sailed with on the Celebration, and they were all jealous. Alina, thank you for welcoming us and making us feel so welcome on board Carnival Jubilee. With the long wait time, we weren't sure what to expect with that first dinner service, but it was blazing. I tell you, from the time we got to the restaurant to the time we had gotten the appetizers, eaten the appetizers, gotten the main, it was about 20 minutes, 25 minutes max. So that was really fast, and that first meal was so good. Try the lettuce wraps. Chibang was amazing that first night. The service was great, very attentive. It'll be interesting to see how services the rest of the week, but they had staff in from Cucina del Capitano as well. So they had multiple crew working in that restaurant. It was busy, it was hopping, but it was fast. From dinner, I headed on over to the main theater, the Jubilee Theater, to see Carnival's newest playlist productions show, Dear Future Husband. I will tell you, all of the songs are instantly recognizable in that show, and so you'll be dancing, you'll be swaying. My personal thoughts, I enjoyed it. I'm glad I went. I will go again on a future sailing, but it didn't give me that wow vibe that like Celestial Strings or Epic Rock or even Color My World. It didn't give that wow or that pop. It tells a story of people falling in love, getting married, of course, and then there's a reception later in the week where you can actually meet the bride and groom and drink with them at the bar. So a fun show, absolutely recommend it. Probably not going to be my favorite Carnival show that I've seen. After the show, I explored the ship some more selfies. I ran into Anna Maria over at Java Blue. She immediately recognized me, gave me a big hug, and we got a selfie. Diana, who's at Dr. Inks or Inks PhD, we got a selfie with her. I'm telling you, the number of crew that we recognize on this ship, it's what we love about Carnival Cruise Lines. They make you feel like you're part of their family, and we love to recognize and celebrate them as well on the channel. I ended my first 24 hours the way I started my first 24 hours, with some more barbecue pizza because I loved it that much. Oh, I just told you which one won. I loved it that much that I had that, and then in a pizza haze, I made my way to the nightclub and danced for a little bit, checked that out before heading over to the piano bar. I got to listen to Ben on the piano bar. Awesome experience. If you haven't done a piano bar on board, you will have fun. But at this point, I was tired. I mean, it was late. It was after midnight. We had traveled, all of that stuff, and so I actually headed back to the room to get a great night of sleep. Unfortunately, I did not get a great night of sleep. There is something loose in one of the cabinets next to the room that banged or slammed against the wall the entire evening. pillow over the ears kind of helped, but it was not a great first night of sleep. It's an inaugural voyage. We're the first people sleeping in this room. That's how we discover these sorts of things. And so we hoped that it would get better the next day. By the next day, spoiler alert for the full review, it didn't, but Carnival was great about the entire experience. Because that was a rough night, we didn't actually get out of bed until 9:30, 10 o'clock the next morning, and that kind of brings us to the first 24 hours on board. I'll tell you more about that second day and the rest of the cruise in our full review of what we loved, what we didn't love, and what we hated. But for now, I will just say it was a whirlwind first 24 hours on board Carnival Jubilee. We ate so much food, and we ate new food to the Jubilee, as well as our favorites from this class at Shebang for dinner. Absolutely highly recommended. It was delicious. What I would say is the ship, as I mentioned, feels very familiar. If you've been on Mardi Gras, if you've been on Carnival Celebration, great news. You are going to be a pro navigating the ship, but there's so much newness. You're going to find all sorts of newness, even finishing touches that are different on the ship. The main dining room, the different zones. There's just so much beautiful work that went into this ship. I hope that you're going to like it as much as I did. Some of my favorite spots on board, again, the Currents and Shores, I mentioned that. The Grand View Bar, which is what I'm sitting in front of right now, is I think it's an upgrade from her sister ships. You've got the Center Stage bar downstairs, right outside of Center Stage. That is also really beautiful. And then, of course, you've got the familiar Carnival favorites. You've got your Blue Iguana. You've got your Guy's Burger. But you've got things like Shaq's Big Chicken. You've got Shebang. You've got Coastal Slice. You've got Beach Buns. You've got so many food options on board. Don't forget about Java Blue, because it's an Excel class. You can go get food there, too. There's just there are so many places you can get food on board and so many new options, which I personally love. In terms of the ship itself, the casino continues the smoking side and non-smoking side. I think it's a big casino. I've heard mixed reviews from folks when they're on a casino sailing, so your experience may vary. Center Stage, those beautiful LED screens at night, the windows during the day where you can see out to the ocean, just an amazing space. Again, if you've sailed on Celebration or Mardi Gras, you know this space and how beautiful it is. I also really love how the zones seem to spread people out on the ship. I didn't feel crowded a lot. There were a couple of times where it felt crowded, like when they were running a sail, or the casino got crowded sometimes walking through, or pictures at night. There were a couple of times where the ship felt crowded, but overall, I think the Excel class does an amazing job distributing people across the different zones and events and venues that are going on, and so that's a really cool thing about this class of ship. And of course, I couldn't not mention the ribbon cutting and the launch of Carnival Jubilee as a highlight in those first 24 hours. It was so neat to see the excitement across all of the leaders welcoming this ship to Galveston. And I think probably the highlight of my first 24 hours, honestly, were all of the crew members that came up and gave me hugs that I recognized. They recognized me back. That was a highlight. We always recognize at least someone that we've sailed with before, but this was wild. Carnival Jubilee has brought the best of the best from the fleet, and so it has been an amazing sailing. Congratulations to all of those crew members, to all of the crew on this beautiful ship for being selected for Carnival Jubilee. Of course, with all of that said, I will share my full review of Carnival Jubilee in the coming weeks. We're going to put together all of the photos and videos. There's a lot to the tune of almost 10,000. So Rocky and I are going to be editing for quite some time to get the full review, but I wanted to get up a quick 24-hour recap so you knew what to expect in your first 24 hours on board this beautiful ship. Of course, if you have any questions in the meantime, if you have anything that you are curious about or want to know more about, drop those in the comments. We have a rule. We reply to every single comment. So no, it might take us a couple days, especially when we're on a ship, but we reply to every single comment. So drop those in the below, I guess. And until next time, go check out the playlist. There's a ton of Jubilee content out there, so go check that out. And until next time, we'll see you on the sea.